Hi, I'm Jeff Barker. I'm a screenwriter. This is a quick update to this week's episode of the Screenplay Lab, where we did a complete breakdown of A Complete Unknown by James Mangold and Jay Cox. I saw the movie this weekend, and because of that, I'm in my Johnny Cash era, obviously. But I want to talk to you very quickly about some major changes in the film from the screenplay. The first is that scene of Johnny Cash when he hears Bob Dylan for the first time and admires his music so much. Then he jumps into a stranger's car and cranks up the volume so he can hear it. We talked about how we thought that scene was a great example of show, don't tell, to set up the letter that he would get later on in the screenplay. Well, in the film, they just go straight to the letter. That scene is not in there. Maybe it's in a director's cut. Maybe we see that down the road. We talked about how a lot of screenwriters would not have done that scene and just gone to the letter itself, thinking that's enough, and how much we appreciated that scene was in there. Also missing is the diner scene at the second act split, where we see the manifestation of the epic Bob Dylan. They did accomplish this, but they did it very quickly and not as grand as he walks down the streets of Greenwich Village. The reconciliation scene between Pete and Bob at the end of the screenplay is also missing. Remember, in the screenplay, he does actually talk to Pete, and Pete lets him know, yes, I did listen to your record and I like it. And also, I'm still in your corner. I'm still a big fan. In the film, he simply drives by the festival where Pete is picking up chairs, gives him a look. I saw a lot of dialogue that was cut short and replaced with a look by Timothée Chalamet. Now, he is such a talented actor. He can reveal so much with his facial expressions. And so it made sense a lot of times. The independent scenes for Sylvie are also missing in the movie. Remember, in the screenplay, we talked about how fully fleshed out she was. That was missing some in the film. We also talked about a scene in the screenplay at the ferry where Sylvie and Bob say goodbye to each other, and it gets interrupted by this mob of fans that shows up and grows between the two of them, pushing them apart, and how it's a beautiful metaphor for the relationship and how they could never be together because he was too famous, he was too big to even know himself. That's gone from the film. The scene is there, and a lot of that is accomplished with Timothée Chalamet hanging onto the fence, looking at her, but it's much different than what we saw in the screenplay. Some of the symbolism is missing. Remember, we talked about the 3 times in the screenplay that Bob Dylan looks at himself in the mirror and reflects on just who am I in this moment. 2 of those 3 are gone. The only one that's there is right before the festival. And it still is meaningful and purposeful, but it's not connected to anything. So how does this happen? Well, a lot of times when we read a screenplay online, it's not the final script. Although in this case, this screenplay is listed as the final shooting script of the movie. Most obvious reason is collaboration. When you have hundreds of very talented individuals who are all creative and they get together, they're going to have an impact on the final display. And that's a good thing. And often when the director is not the writer, this person brings in their own vision, and you're going to see something very different than what's on the page. That's not the case here, though. James Mangold is not only the director, he's also the co-writer, which we've talked about. And the 3rd credit at the end of the movie lists him as a James Mangold film. So it all stops with him. The 3 main times when change happens is in pre-production, when the actors get involved, and with the editing. In pre-production, you have the director and the director of photography who they get together and they spend lots of hours making a shot list of how they want to create these shots. And when that happens, visually, it doesn't sometimes match up with what's on the page. It's impossible. Also, when the actors get involved, especially talented actors like in this film, they bring their own embodiment of the character. And sometimes the way they present a line or a look changes the whole direction of the scene. And then finally, in the editing suite, the editor and the director together, they fall in love with the take that an actor had, and they want it in the film so badly it messes up the rest of the planned scene, so they have to work around it. But often it's a matter of time. If you deliver a film that's 2 hours and 30 minutes, but it's supposed to be 1 hour and 45, well, you've got to start cutting. Either way, it was a very good movie and a tremendous screenplay. If you have not seen the full breakdown of A Complete Unknown, the screenplay, you can watch it right here on YouTube, and I hope you do. Now it's time to get to work on the substance, and I'll see you with that episode right here on the Screenplay Lab next week.